All right, so it's the second half of 1-3. So after this, you gotta be able to finish your homework. I'm not collecting homework today. Tomorrow I will. All right, so let's look at comparing segment lengths. I kept asking you on Friday, are the lengths equal? And we were doing like these two down here. And then this one down here, they weren't equal, correct? All right, so here we're going to explore the concept of what is called a congruent. And the proper notation for congruent in geometry, so you need to get used to this, is an equal sign with a squiggle above it. It's a tilde above the equal sign. So that means congruent, so congruent segments. This is a definition. It should be a flashcard that you make. And they are segments that have the same length. So in exercises 18 and 19, I want you to circle the expression that concludes the equation. So we looked at distances. So I want you to go ahead and circle in 18 and 19 which of the four items represents the distance of A to B. So remember that that's that new notation. If there's nothing above or in front of it, it really is asking you what's the distance from A to B, what's the distance from B to E. So answer those two. So what did you say for A to B? So the absolute value of -2, bless you. Cover up on the other answer. So the absolute value of -2 minus 3. Notice that they didn't give you the choice of 3 minus a -2, the absolute value of that. That also would have been an acceptable answer. What is -2 minus 3? So that would be the absolute value of -5, right? And then that value would be 5. And then for 19, should have been 10 minus 14. What's that value? -4. Yeah. And then the absolute value of that is 4. So that's what they're asking you to do here. So we have 5 here and 4 here. Looking at they must not be equal. Are they equal? I was thinking for some reason I didn't think they were not equal. No. Why? Seems like an obvious answer. Why? Yeah, the lengths are not the same. You're essentially using that definition to justify why they're not congruent. The lengths are not the same. Right? You can't just say no because. All right, so we'll look at the next set. 22. Point blank is halfway between points B and J. Well, here's B and J. You could bunny hop your way to the middle, right? But the easiest way would be to actually find the distance between B and J. So what's the distance from B to J? Yeah, there's 4 here to the left of 0 and 4 here to the right of 0. So that's a total of 8. What's half of 8? 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Would F be half the distance between B and J? So point F is halfway between. And then the midpoint of AE, you find that. Wouldn't that be the point halfway in between? What did you find? C, right? If you look at from A to E, what's that distance? -5 minus a -1 is what? No, minus a negative. -5. You got the absolute value of -5 minus a -1 down. So you get plus plus, which is a -4. That's positive. So half of that is 2. So if you count 2 from the right to the left, you get point C, which is that negative. So point what divides EK? So look at the words that they're using to note what I call a midpoint. Halfway, midpoint divides into 2. Phrases or words. Those all mean midpoints. So what's the point directly in between or halfway between E and K? Yeah, how far apart is E and K? 6, right? So half of that is 3, so 1, 2, 3. That would give you point H. Alright, so then down here we're going to find the midpoint of AG, DH, and AK. So you're going to find the midpoint, which is the letter, and then the coordinate, which is the number. So go ahead and find those 3. Compare those results with those ones. So what'd you get for AG? D as in dog, which is what coordinate? -2. What'd you get for segment DH? F as in Frank. What coordinate is that? 0. And what did you get for segment AK? F again, which is 0. So you can have different length segments. So DH, here's DH, and here's AK. Those are different length segments, but they both have the same midpoint. So I'm going to bring in to you one more definition of segment bisector. There are several things that can bisect a segment. Point, just as we've seen here, can bisect a segment. So a point, line, ray, or another segment. That intersects a segment at its midpoint, or cuts it into 2 equal segments, 2 congruent segments. And so we're going to draw a picture to go with that. To be directly in between is B. Now they may or may not tell you that B is a midpoint. They might show you using notation. So one thing that they like to use are called tick marks. So I'm going to put double tick marks on segment A to B and double tick marks on segment B to C. Those double tick marks refer to the fact that those 2 segments are congruent. Single tick marks can mean that. So any segments that have a single tick mark means that those segments are the same length. Any segments that have a double tick marks, those segments are the same length. Triple tick marks, those are the same length. So we use them to identify groups of segments of the same length. So that implies that B right here is a midpoint. So written just as it is, B would be a point. That point B is the segment bisector. Or I can put a line through there. Call that line L. Line L could be a segment bisector. Or I could have made it a ray, and that would be a segment bisector. So long as it's intersecting segment AC somewhere through B, whatever that item is a segment bisector. So 26 is just asking the question just a different way. Find the segment with endpoints at -4 and 2. So here's -4, and here's 2. So that would be segment, of BH, right? And what is the coordinate of its midpoint? What's the distance from -4 to +2? 6. What's half of that? 3. So 1, 2, 3. That puts me at E. But they want the coordinates. So what do they want? -1. And segment with endpoints at -2 and 4. So here's -2 and here's 4. What's the distance between those two? And then that one happens to be DJ. And that's the 6. So again, half of that is 3. So 1, 2, 3. That would be G. 71. Now we don't want to have to be writing a number line all the time and counting and that kind of thing. Instead, we'd rather use our math. So instead, one of these two is going to tell us the math behind what we just did. Do we just add the two segments together? So for instance, if we look at BH, here's B and here's H, -4 and 2, do we just add those two together? What's -4 plus 2? -2. Is that our coordinate of our midpoint? That didn't work. So what happens if I add them together and then divide by 2? So what's -4 and 2? -2 divided by 2. -1. Is that what we're looking for? So let's try it on this one, DJ. So from B to J, what's -2 plus +4? 2 divided by 2. 1. Was that our segment? It looks like this is what we did here. Here, let's just double check this one. If we subtract their lengths, so back to BH, so BH, what's -4 minus 2? -6 divided by 2, -3, and that was not what we're looking for. So this is not it, and this is not it. So this right here is your formula for midpoint. I expect you to know this formula, so I would put it on a flashcard because I will not give that to you. It's an expectation. It's almost like, giving you the formula for area of a rectangle. You shouldn't need the formula for area of a rectangle. You should just know that. So learn that if you didn't know it by now. Learn it, put it on a flashcard. All right, last page. So they're telling you that U is the midpoint of TV. What is your conclusion when they tell you that U is the midpoint of TV? Because they're giving you information, you need to draw a conclusion from it. If U is the midpoint of TV, what's the conclusion? Midpoints create what? Congruent segments. So if midpoints create congruent segments, in this example, what can you conclude when U is the midpoint? You can conclude that segment TU is congruent to segment UV. That's the conclusion that you draw from knowing that definition. So they're giving you some information, a helpful hint, to get you to the equation to solve. If I know that those two are equal, can't I just put an equal sign in between the 8x and the 12x, the 8x plus 11 and 12x minus 1? You're no longer being given the equation to solve in geometry. You have to come up with that equation on your own. So look what they did, step 1. There was our conclusion. Now they're using the notation that distance from T to U is equal to the distance from U to V, which is fine as well. And here's the justification, definition of a midpoint. This is a mini proof. So you want to pay attention to the information over here as well, because you're going to be asked to justify it. Then, what do they do from here to here? Substitution. Notice that that's what they said here. So what do you do on this side? Because you've got a missing piece. What are we substituting? 12x minus 1. Then from here to here, this has not changed, 8x plus 11 plus something here. So we're adding something here. We've got something plus something here, and they're saying add 1 to each side. Normally, in an algebraic proof, we don't show what we did to both sides, so this is an unusual step, but we're going to go ahead and put that in there. So we're adding 1 to each side. I'm going to put it green. So that would be 1 here and then 1 here. What's missing is this 12x minus 1 gets brought down here. Then they're kind of skipping the part that, okay, if I add 1 to each side, don't I end up with 12 on this side and 0 on this side as far as the numbers go? So I end up with 8x plus 12 and then just 12x on the right. They skipped that part. That's really the line that should have been here. But then they just say they have nothing here, but they say subtract 8x from each side. So if we subtracted 8x from this side, what would be left over? 11 plus that 1 is 12. So you end up with a 12 on the left. And then if I subtract 8x from this side, what's left over? A 4x. So it's really weird because this side right here should have read, instead of adding that 1, it should have read 8x plus 12 originally, and this should have just been a 12x. Normally we would not have written this, we would have written this instead. Then what do they do from here to here? They divide it by 4. So 12 divided by 4 is 3, and 4x divided by 4 is 3x. So then this is the value for x. They may or may not ask you for the value for x. They may ask you for the value of segment, what is the actual length of segment 2u and segment uv. They should be the same length, so that's how you can check your answer. Or they might ask you for the length from t to v. And so here they say find tu and uv, and they're just walking you through the steps. So 8 times x is 3, plus 11. Yeah, 8 times 3 is 24. And then what's 24 plus 11? 35. So 12 times, instead of actually putting in 3, so 12 times 3 is 36 minus the 1, 35. And over here you're just substituting the 3. So now you can see that those segments are indeed congruent, which is what it implied when they told you that U was the midpoint. And then over here, they want you to find the distance from T to B. So T to B, this is your, technically this is not your definition of a midpoint, but totally wrong. Definition, this actually would be the segment addition postulate. Change that, please. Isn't this the two smaller pieces are adding up to give you the whole bigger piece? So then we're going to substitute in what we know. We know that each of these are 35. And so that means that TB is equal to 70. And they are showing more work than it's necessary. And the last part is some vocabulary. So I want you to answer these questions. You've got about 1 to 2 minutes. See if you can answer them correctly after Friday's and today's lesson. All right, so 29. A bisector or a midpoint may be a point, line, ray, or segment. Which is it? It is a bisector. Yes, a midpoint could be a point, but a midpoint is not a line, a ray, or a segment. So that's how you know the difference between the two. A bisector and a midpoint do the same thing, but they are not the same thing. In other words, a bisector is actually more than a midpoint. We have different things being bisectors, a midpoint is just a point. So what about 30? The midpoint of segment PR is point, everybody agrees it's Q. Line L, notice the notation for line L, a lower cursive letter implies that you're talking about a line. So line L passes through point Q as well. And then two bisectors of segment PR would be capital Q implying that it's a point, and cursive L implying that that's a line. So you got point Q and line L. Questions on 1-3? So it's just a lot of vocabulary, a lot of notation, that type of thing.